Good evening, everyone, and thanks for taking time out of your busy schedules to learn a little bit more about the Health Professions Education Certificate Program offered through the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education. We are really thrilled to be launching this program in a few short months. I'm Don Boyer, and I'm the co-director of the program, along with Candy Weens. I'm also joined tonight by Paul Liu, JP Orlando, and Rebecca Tenney-Suero, our academic directors. To get to know our team a little bit, we'll take a few minutes to introduce ourselves, and then we'll spend the rest of the session tonight sharing with you an overview of the program and answering whatever questions you might have about becoming enrolled in the program. By way of background, I'm actually a pediatric intensive care physician at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia here in Philadelphia, where I'm also the fellowship program director. My academic interest is in medical and health professions education, and I received my master's degree from the Med Ed program in 2012, and now have the distinct honor of co-directing the master's program along with this certificate program. I'll turn it over to Candy to introduce herself, and then we'll introduce the rest of our team before we share information about the program. Candy?
Yep, welcome everybody. My name is Candy Weens. I am a senior fellow in the Graduate School of Education at Penn, and I'm also the co-director of the Med Ed Master's program, and now the new Health Professions Education Certificate program. Looking forward to today's webinar, and just want to say in advance thank you to everyone who is here participating, as well as all of our speakers tonight.
All right, my name is Paul Liu, and I am a general internist at Penn. I do a lot of education with our students as well as our internal medicine residents. One of my major interests, though, is in global health and in kind of the intersection of global health and medical education. So with that interest, I actually support one of our bigger partner sites in Vietnam, and currently am serving as the program director for the internal medicine residency program for a new university that we helped launch called Penn University. I've been in the global health med ed space now for probably the last 6, 7, 8 years, and am really interested in trying to help train and educate the global community of health sciences professionals and trainees. So I'm excited to be a part of this program. I graduated in the most recent cohort of the Masters in Med Ed in 2020, and I'm happy to talk more, particularly if anyone has any thoughts or interest in international medical education.
JP.
JP?
Yeah, I'll go next. Hi, everyone. I'm JP Orlando. I'm serving as a co-academic director with Paul and Rebecca in the certificate program. And so I also serve as the director for the coaching clinics in the Masters of Medical Education program since 2014. And then I also teach and do some other stuff in the Penn CLO doctoral program, which is where I got my doctorate from. I've been in medical education for over 15 years, served on several, and currently serving on several national boards, and excited to get this program launched. My research interest is in health professions education, so super excited to get this launched. Rebecca?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So excited that you are joining us this evening or daytime, wherever you may be. I am Rebecca Tenney-Suero. I am a pediatric hospitalist here at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the fellowship director for our pediatric hospital medicine program, as well as the section chief of education for our division of general pediatrics, where I really get to focus on faculty development and interprofessional education. And just really excited to get this program launched. I actually did the master's with Don Boyer in that first class, and just really excited to continue this education.
Awesome. Thanks so much, team. It's really a distinct honor and privilege to work with such a great team who's really passionate about this program. and around seeing it get launched. So again, for anyone who may have joined us a little after we started, we're gonna spend the next few minutes sharing an overview about the program and then taking whatever questions that you might have. Candy, if we can go to the next slide.
Yeah, actually, before we advanced on, I just saw a flash that someone raised their hand. Alana, can you see the question?
Yes. Megan, where did Megan go? Megan, did you still have a question? If your audio is on, you should now have the capability to talk.
I didn't mean to raise my hand, sorry.
That's okay. But this was good because if anyone does have a question, feel free to raise your hand and we can turn off your mute access.
Sounds good. Thanks, Alana. So to give you an overview of the program, the certificate program is housed within the Graduate School of Education, better known as GSE on the Penn campus, and is actually affiliated with the Medical Education Master's program, also housed in GSE. And the aim of the program is really to be interprofessional. That's going to be the name of the game, really, as we roll this program out and see it evolve throughout time. And we're currently marketing the program to physicians, to nurses, to pharmacists, dentists, veterinarians, occupational therapists, physical therapists, physician's assistants, and other allied health professionals, if I missed any groups not named in there. And we're marketing through various national organizations and schools, really hoping to enroll about 30 or more students in this first cohort. And additionally, we hope that this program is going to truly attract an international audience of healthcare professionals. I think that's going to be really valuable for us so that we can learn with and from each other throughout the course of the program. And as we think about the different topics that are presented throughout the course of the program, we can potentially think about them in different educational contexts, depending on where learners come from. You're participating tonight in one of the first, or really the first of a series of webinars about the program. And some of the timing that we're offering these sessions kind of again highlights the global focus that we hope that this program has, trying to identify times in the schedule that may work for multiple time zones around the globe. We'll talk about the structure of the program on the next slide, but it will be conducted over a 9-month period, culminating in both a certificate from the Graduate School of Education, as well as continuing education credits for anyone who's eligible to receive those credits. The program is really right for you if you want to enhance your own teaching to deliver innovative and evidence-based education, if you're currently or plan to participate in training tomorrow's healthcare professionals, and if you want to become an education leader in your field. You've come to the right place to learn more about this program, and I think this program could be a really great fit for you. Candy, the next slide. So the format of the program will largely be virtual through synchronous virtual sessions over that 9-month period. There will be additionally 2 optional in-person sessions at the beginning and end of the program, as well as that additional virtual session near the end where participants will be able to present to the group work from their education portfolio. Each session is going to be facilitated by an expert facilitator, focusing part of the session on foundational aspects of teaching and learning in the health professions context, and then also some larger group and small group work of application of the knowledge that you're learning. I'll turn it over to Paul now to share a little bit more of the nitty-gritty details about the curriculum content.
All right, so yeah, I'm excited to talk to you about this curriculum, and we actually spent a lot of time as a group trying to think about and choose the highest yield content and areas as we were kind of developing the framework for what we thought was important. And I think one really unique and, in my opinion, a really special feature of our program is that we do approach our content from the lens of health sciences, but we also have the expertise and the support of the Graduate School of Education here at Penn. So we also cover topics that may be more from the lens of just general education, which I actually think is really important and actually very helpful. And I'll point out a few of the sessions which I think are very broadly applicable, both within health sciences, but also just in other aspects of education as well. So you can see here that we have 12 areas of focus, which are essentially our 12 sessions that we will have. And they're nested within 4 unique modules. And the sequencing of the modules, we tried to be very intentional and thoughtful about. So I'll quickly go through this. So we start with the first module, which is learning and teaching, theories, frameworks, and learning environments. And then after that, we move on into our second module, which is an introduction to interprofessional education. And then we transition to our third module, which is fundamentals of adult development. And then we conclude with learner assessment and program evaluation. And going back to our first module, the learning and teaching, within that we have 4 sessions. And the first session, approaches to learning, provides a nice kind of background and foundation on different theoretical approaches to learning, and provide some context for why we teach and why we do things currently in health sciences education. The session after that is another session, which I think is very broadly applicable to all areas of education, and that's diversity and learning. Afterwards, we have a session on creating and enhancing learning environments. And this is focused and a very practical session, specifically for the health sciences field. And then we have a 4th session on curriculum design and implementation. And then we get into the next module, which is on interprofessional education. So we have our first session here on IPE. Next, we have a session on teaching in the clinical setting. So this will cover things like bedside teaching and working within an interprofessional team. And then we have a really interesting session on group dynamics and interprofessional team-based care. So I want to point out, this is probably a session that many other education or certificate programs may not have. And this one I think is very unique and special. And I think we can all agree, when we have been in learning environments, that group dynamics and the interaction between participants and kind of the teamwork and the relationships within the group is very important. And I'm sure we can all think of groups where there was a very nice dynamic where people got along and there was a lot of support, and everything just seemed to click. And then other times, kind of the opposite. So this session will kind of provide some information and content and help you understand how group dynamics work. For our third module, fundamentals of adult development, the adult development and individual change is another session, which I also think is more broadly applicable. And personally, having sat through a version of this session, I think very practical and helpful even at an individual level for each of us. And then afterwards, we have a session on giving feedback. And then we also have a session on coaching, mentoring, and sponsoring. And then in our last module, we have 2 sessions, one on individual learner assessment from the lens of competency-based medical education. And then lastly, we have a session on program evaluation. So the learning experience, like Dawn mentioned, we are a hybrid program, but primarily virtual. So we have 2 in-person sessions at the beginning and very end, where if it's feasible, we would love to meet all of you in person and get to know you before we kick off our program. And then at the end, celebrate with you and network and hear more about how you're applying the knowledge and skills for the certificate program into your daily practice. And then in between, for the meat of our content, we have these 12 virtual sessions, in addition to a virtual session where learners will be able to share their share kind of a capstone or portfolio presentation. These sessions are designed to be very interactive, and I think in the last year and a half or 2 years at this point, all of us have been forced to learn and adapt to being able to teach virtually. This was definitely not an area that I was familiar with or had much experience with pre-COVID, but the number of sessions I've had to teach and facilitate virtually have been enormous, and especially with my global health work, it's been very interesting to see some best practices really start to arise. So within these virtual sessions, we try to keep them very engaging and interactive. And for each of the sessions, they will primarily start as kind of a larger group setting. And then we will break into smaller groups throughout the sessions as well. There are a lot of different types of learning modalities and pedagogies that you will be exposed to. And we will incorporate things such as flipped classroom, different types of experiential activities, and definitely a lot of peer learning. And one of the things that we really hope to demonstrate and kind of role model is different types of tools and skills that you can learn and also incorporate for yourself. So one of the things that I really enjoyed from my experience in the master's was not just the content, but watching the delivery of the content and watching the different formats and the different styles that each of the different teachers would bring. And for me, it was very helpful to be able to learn from that and actually incorporate some of the techniques that I was observing. And then lastly, we have a really diverse and a very, I think a very world-class group of faculty. And Rebecca's going to share more on that, but we have faculty who are all across different fields, including medicine, education, etc. So I think our faculty are a very strong part of the program and will make the learning experience very rich. So I'll hand it over to Rebecca.
Thanks, Paul. So as you've heard a little bit about, our collaboration for faculty members has really been outstanding, I think, as we've put this together. Garnering faculty from the GSE, from Penn, from CHOP, from other field instructors, and I'm really excited to get to attend many of these sessions with some of our world-class faculty. Our students, you all, thank you for joining us. We are hoping to make this pertinent for all healthcare professionals and health professions trainees. So there might be students or residents or fellows who are interested in obtaining further medical education training, and we welcome all of you. As Paul mentioned, we are also very interested in our international audience, and we want to create really a global network of folks who are interested in education, who can share ideas, share talent, create programs like this, or even teach in programs like this eventually, where we're really focusing on learning the fundamental concepts of education so that you can build programs locally, nationally, internationally, and benefit from even scholarship and other things down the road as you enhance your own skills. I mentioned that networking, and ideally, or for those who are able, those 2 in-person sessions or hybrid sessions will really kick off some of our community building to help create this network of educational colleagues across the globe, again, to share ideas and really learn with each other. Next slide, please. So as Paul mentioned, we have multiple dates for you all, and they are listed here. So our first date and our last date, so the March 5th and December 10th, will be optional in-person sessions for those who are able to travel and who would like to join us here in Philadelphia. Again, there will definitely be a hybrid option. And then the remainder of our sessions will be virtual but synchronous so that we can interact with each other as we are going through each session. So those are listed there, and they are every 3 weeks, which is a bit unique for this program, but we really wanted to keep the connections going and build on the skills that we're providing in each session. Next slide, please. And as Dawn mentioned in the beginning, we have been able to obtain continuing education credits. Penn is a joint accredited program, so we have gotten CME or other educational credits for physicians, our nursing colleagues, physician's assistants, pharmacists. If you are in the vet or dental world, you are able to submit. We aren't able to give you them, but we give you your certificate, and then you can apply to your own boards for credit for this as well. So I think it's an exciting program. It is 45 category 1 credits that for the physician group, as well as the nurses. And I think it will be very useful for some of you who are looking for some of those credits in specific areas. And I think that is it for my part. I'm going to turn it back over to Candy.
Thanks, Rebecca. All right, so as we come to the end of our webinar, we wanted to wrap up and give you a little bit of information about the application process and make it as easy for you as possible. So as we've said a couple of times, we are now accepting applications for our very first cohort, which will begin in March of 2022. So the application process is open right now. If you want to scan this QR code, that's a great way to get started. And we will be accepting applications through January 15th. That gives us about 6 to 7 weeks to review applications, get you your letters of acceptance, and send you pre-reading materials before we start in March. The application process is pretty straightforward. It's a very simple, quick, easy to fill out online application where you write a very brief statement of purpose. We just would very much like to hear, why are you interested in not just this program, but health professions education? What is it about the profession, or about adult learning or medical education or clinical education that you are interested in? And how do you see this program helping you with your professional goals? If you have any questions after today, of course, we're going to have time to answer a few of your questions. But if there's anything that we don't get to today, you have an email here. You just email professionallearning@gsc.upenn.edu, and one of us will get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Finally, as you've seen on the website, I know many of you have checked out the website for this 9-month certificate program. The total cost is $12,000, and we do have a payment plan that we can set up for anyone who's interested in that. So as we wrap up and start to take some of your questions, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen just so you can see all of us, and everybody can take a look at what's coming in through Q&A and through chat. All right, I see one question here in the Q&A. I'll raise these up, and then team, if anyone wants to jump in. The first question from Megan is one expected to attend all sessions, or can some be watched asynchronously? Paula, Rebecca, you want to take that?
Sure, I can answer that. Ideally, everyone is able to attend every session. I think we really want to continue to build on our community and our small group work and such. However, we know that many of us may have life or work events that prevent being able to attend every session. So we will be recording them so that you can catch up and view them asynchronously. But ideally, we hope everyone can attend as many as possible in person.
Yeah, I would just add to that too, that many of these sessions are designed to be, very interactive, where a lot of the work and a lot of the learning with your peers will be done in small groups. As you know, if you've spent a lot of time on Zoom, recording in small groups or the breakout sessions isn't really possible. So only the large group sessions will be videotaped or recorded and shared. All right, we have one more question here from Shelby. For those of us who are employed by Penn already, do you know if we are able to use tuition benefits to cover the price of the course? Shelby, thank you for that question. We knew we were going to get it. And it's actually going to be a quite common question. I'll go ahead and take this one. At this time, tuition reimbursement this program is not eligible for Penn or CHOP tuition reimbursement. primarily and solely because we are not granting graduate level course units or credit units. We may be going through the process over the next couple of years to get approval to offer credit units, in which case then Penn tuition reimbursements would apply to the program. But at this time, the first running of the program, tuition reimbursement unfortunately does not cover the certificate program.
I think one thing to add that may help with people as you're thinking about the financing of this program is that with the payment plan, it is able to be spread since the program is starting in March and extends through December. You are able to potentially apply professional expense or professional development funds from then 2 academic years. And so that can provide some offsetting of the cost as just one kind of operational or logistical piece of financing to think about.
I don't see any other questions coming in through Q&A. We'll give it just maybe a minute or so to see if anything else comes in. Alana, did I miss anything in chat while I was sharing my screen?
No, I don't believe so. I added there the link for anyone that has any additional questions. If anything pops in your mind after the session, feel free to send an email to the link that I've posted there.
Dawn, I would just add to the whole payment thing is that you also have, most physicians have, or other healthcare professionals have some level of CE funds that they might be able to tap into. And to your point, that's a good one, that it's over a 2-year period. So you can, use some of those funds to help, to pay for that expense. So.
I don't see any other questions coming on. We invite everyone to reach out to us. If you have questions that are unique to you and you want to have a one-on-one conversation with any of us, we would be happy to take your call. We are excited to get to know some of you. And while we thought we could anticipate some of your questions, we also know that many of you might have a unique circumstance, or you may be in a part of your career where you're not sure if this is the right time for you or the right program for you. Have a conversation with one of us and we can help you answer some of those questions. All right, we actually have a question here from Ava. I tried my Penn key and can't get in. Thanks, Alana. All right, so we're going to try a different link here. Let us know if that doesn't get you in.
You may also need to create a unique ID for the application. A few months ago, I think, when we were looking at some of the language for this, and I was trying to log in as well, I think I couldn't use my prior Penn like login information, and I think I created a separate application, basically as an applicant, like applying to a Penn program. So if that doesn't work, you may need to just create a user ID.
Yeah. And if that doesn't work, feel free to also email, the professional learning email address just in case, and we'll definitely get you the proper application pathway that you might need.
Paul and Rebecca, I think this would be a good question for one of you to take. What are the expectations or requirements in between virtual sessions?
I could take this one, and then Rebecca, if you wanted to add. So we definitely understand that everyone is really busy, but at the same time, we want to make this really meaningful. So each of the sessions will have some pre-reading content that we do expect you to look at and be prepared before each session starts. Some sessions may have a very brief pre-session kind of assignment. Most often, maybe something in the form of a discussion board and writing some of your preliminary thoughts before the session starts. And then afterwards, some of the sessions will also have an assignment. We definitely want to be mindful of your commitments, and also as a certificate program, we don't want to inundate you with too much homework as well. So some sessions will have a post-session assignment. Again, we don't expect it to be too much of a time commitment. Most likely either in the form of a discussion board type of response, or a self-reflection, or something along those lines. The pre-readings and the assignments are actually designed by each of the facilitators. So each of the 12 sessions that I outlined are actually taught by 12 separate facilitators. Some of us here are leading some of the sessions, but actually the majority of the sessions are taught from experts and leaders from CHOP, Penn School of Medicine, as well as several other collaborators at other academic institutions and other non-academic organizations. But it should be minimal. I think we estimated that the monthly time commitment would be around 6 hours, including the sessions. So we don't want it to be too much of extra time commitment.
Thanks, Paul. We have one new question that just came in on the Q&A. Thanks for this question, Shelby. Would you be able to describe the capstone project briefly? So Rebecca, let's have you take this one. I know it's something you and Paul have been working on, or currently working on.
Yes, and as we get more information from each of our faculty as well, we'll be able to give you even more details. But really, I think it's going to be much more of a portfolio. So what have you done over the individual sessions? What are the small take-home points for yourself? Almost like a self-reflection on a lot of the work that you will have done already. And then just a small presentation, most likely to your smaller group, in the last session, where you'll have a chance to really reflect and share with each other what you've learned and what you plan to do with the information that you have obtained. So what are your next steps, thinking about sort of the future, whether that's in leadership or scholarship, or something local within your own community. It could be as much as, or as little as, I'm going to design one lecture, or I'm really going to think about program evaluation in a much broader sense. So it will be much more a portfolio and some self-reflection.
If I could just add to that, Rebecca, I mean, that's a great, that portfolio development is also a springboard for academic promotions. For those who are interested in pursuing more of that academic or educator path, that really is tremendously beneficial to participants, because then, they could use it for promotions and tenure. So that's really good.
And as a interprofessional group, we understand that everyone is coming from different kind of areas of medicine and at different levels of their career. So we want it to be very relevant and practical for yourself too. So I think it will be a very personalized type of portfolio, and hopefully a very practical collection of things that you're putting together. And the hope, like JP is saying, is that it could be used not just for sharing with us and within your small group, but also something that you could use for promotion, or even for your work and your day-to-day. So that's the hope. But I think we want to be very flexible to see the audience of the learner population that ultimately joins us, and we want to be adaptable and try to tailor this as much as we can to whoever joins our program.
Thanks, Paul. We have a question coming in from Megan, which I think is going to be a pretty common question. Now, we know that many of you are very experienced medical educators and might be looking at their certificate program, might also be looking at our master's program or other programs that are out there. So Megan's question, I think, is really relevant for those of you who are trying to decide between programs. And she says, for those who have a significant amount of med ed leadership experience, do you anticipate this would still be a valuable program, or would you recommend the master's? So Donald, I think you're in a good position to answer that one.
Sure. Thanks, Candy. And thanks for the question, Megan. I think it's a great question. And I think that there will certainly be content that is new and content that probably has a fresh perspective or a fresh angle in how it's presented in the certificate program. That said, I also think that for people who are coming from a very strong med ed background and have a lot of kind of established work in that realm, then the master's may actually be a program that gives you more of what you're looking for. So what I would say is that I know that the entire team here is happy to have kind of individual one-off conversations with folks who are considering both programs to understand what might be best for them, because I think for each person, it's going to be a little bit individualized. Some of it also really depends on the time commitment and the financial commitment that people are looking to put into it. If you're coming from the Penn system and can apply tuition benefit, that obviously changes the equation a little bit. But I think it's definitely worth a conversation, and I'd be happy to talk to you individually too about which program might be the best fit for you, Megan.
Let's see. I think we are all caught up on questions. We'll wait. It's kind of like popcorn. You got to wait for a minute. Wait till the popcorn stops popping. Maybe what we do is as we wait to see if any other questions come in, let's just go around really quickly. And JP, you start us out. What are you most excited about for this certificate program in terms of what you think learners are going to get out of it?
I mean, I think it's the multiple modalities of teaching and learning. I mean, anything from case-based to problem-based, observational learning, peer assistant learning, all the different the levels of techniques that that you'll pull out of it is great. And then it's like a compounding factor when you have other health professions in the room, because I was the interim director for nursing education for a year at a prior job, and my full-time thing is in medical education. So I mean, there are a lot of cross-pollination that can happen between the disciplines, and that is probably, in addition to the multiple teaching modalities, it is the synergies that can happen when you get the health professions together. And so there's really, other than what happens at the bedside, I mean, there's not too many opportunities for that. And that's what makes this unique.
Yeah, thanks, JP. Paul, what about you? What are you most excited about as far as what learners will experience in this program?
Yeah, one thing that I'm really excited about is the networking and just being able to engage and meet other faculty or trainees from other programs or other departments, and also international educators as well. I think that there is a really special opportunity to be able to connect with other teachers who are doing different things, but maybe share similar interests, and to be able to build relationships and continue these relationships, hopefully for your careers, and being able to share ideas and lean on each other. From my experience in the master's program that I recently completed, I've already collaborated with several members of our cohort for clinical care questions, for research questions, for education questions. So our hope, and one thing that we're trying to be very intentional about and to do well is figure out how to build small teams within the cohort, and also how to facilitate networking and providing opportunities to kind of tap into the resources that we can provide through Penn, through GSE, through CHOP, through Penn School of Medicine, and also our other networks, both locally and internationally.
Thanks, Paul. How about you, Rebecca?
So I think JP and Paul stole my idea around community. For me, that really is what this program is about, is creating this community that we can learn together and really continue those collaborations, because Paul, I would say the same from our master's cohort. There was just such amazing collaboration that is still ongoing. I mean, the fact that Don and I get to continue to work together is great. The other thing I'm just really excited about is I think the way our curriculum is set up, and we'll continue to build on each session and being able to interweave that throughout the entire 9 months, and really at the end getting to reflect back on everything that each of us has learned and what we're going to do to take that forward. I think that's going to be pretty special for each of us.
That's great. Thanks, Rebecca. Don, how about you?
Always the challenge of being like fourth or fifth in line, right? No, I would echo what all of my colleagues have said. Like, I think, you know, the master's program always has and always will have a very special place in my heart. And that said, I think that there are gaps in the program that this program, I hope, fills, specifically the interprofessional nature of this. I love when we have a pharmacist or a nurse or a veterinarian come through the master's program, but it happens rarely. And so I think this program, if this truly comes to fruition the way that we are hoping, over the coming, you know, first several cohorts, I think we're going to see truly an interprofessional team of healthcare professionals come together and learn with and from each other. And I think that's going to be really, really special. And with that, you know, the global network, if we can truly, you know, reach out across countries and across continents, I think that that's going to be a really incredibly powerful learning experience that I'm super excited for.
Yeah. Well, you guys all stole my ideas too. No, I mean, if you can't tell, all of us feel really strongly about the sense of community in this learning environment, and we know that that's one thing we do really, really well in this master's program and in many other programs in the Grad School of Education is being very, very intentional about building experiences where people can learn from and with each other. And that includes the faculty as well. And I'll tell you, from being on the faculty side the last several years, I learned just as much attending these sessions, I think, as some of the participants do. The other thing I'm really excited about that I wanted to share, I think that's pretty unique about our program, is that while our learners come in as a cohort and it's a community, there's also a lot of very individualized attention. So, you know, you will find that we are very accessible. If you want to have a call with any of the faculty members, or you want to go a little deeper into an area that's very interesting to you, that you want to explore a little bit more, that we just maybe talked about briefly in one of the sessions, you know, you will find that the faculty and other students are very accessible and can make your experience very individualized as well. So that's what I'm excited about. I don't see any other questions coming in. We've given you the email address if anyone has any unique questions or you want to reach out to us individually. We would love to hear from you. Other than that, I think if we don't have anything else, we'll wrap up a little early. Maybe we'll stay on for a few more minutes, the faculty group, just in case anyone wants to, any of the participants want to join us for just a moment. If you have an individual question, we'd be happy to take it.
Can I just add as we wrap up, you know, the success of this program and, you know, making sure that people know about it is going to come from word of mouth as well as Google searches that are happening out there. So if you know someone who is a colleague who you think would be, you know, equally benefited by this program, please share information with them, share the website with them. We're going to have another informational session virtual coming up at the beginning of November. I don't have the date exactly in front of me. I think it's an early morning hour as opposed to an evening hour. But again, please share with them. If you know interprofessional colleagues in the dental school, nursing school, veterinarian school, physical therapy, occupational therapy, reach out to them. Let them know about this because I think that there is really something very special being formed here, and we're going to lean on each other and all of you too to share the word that this is coming to reality, and we would love people to be a part of it. So thanks for helping us market the program to others who might be interested.